Today, we're going to talk about communication roadblocks. So these are particular things that we use to communicate, and we think that they are going to help someone to change. We feel that they might make the situation better or move someone along. However, they actually end up doing the opposite. So Thomas Gordon has come up with 12 roadblocks. So these are really common roadblocks that get in the way when we communicate. So we're going to go through a few of them now and just notice which ones do you think that you have used in the past or maybe commonly used now. Roadblock number 1 is telling, directing, or ordering. So we might use this when we feel like we have to take charge of the situation, and we feel like perhaps the person in front of us is a little bit lost. They need some guidance. They need some really strong direction. So Sharon, some examples of that, yeah? Like you have to do this or you must do this. It's very sort of clear direction, right? Where we're really trying to steer the ship.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really, like you said, we think someone needs to change their behavior, and we know what they need to do. So that's what we jump in and start to tell them, you have to do this. You need to get your diabetes under control. You need to stop drinking. It's time that you cut back on how much you're smoking. We really tell them how it is.
Yeah, we believe really by taking control like that, we are going to help someone that's lost and give them some direction, yeah?
Absolutely. And I think as health professionals, it's something that we naturally do. We don't think of asking them what they want. We just say, oh, this is what you need to do. And it's not really very helpful. And one of the reasons it's not helpful is it naturally evokes a resistance. So you think about yourself, Siobhan, as soon as someone's telling you what to do, there's a natural instinct to push back, because autonomy is so important. And as soon as we remove autonomy, it's just a natural reaction to kind of want to do the exact opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you want to push back, and you become passive in a situation. When someone's constantly taking control and ordering, directing, you kind of get used to that relationship and you think, okay, well, I'll just sit back and wait to be told what to do. But that doesn't teach us anything. We don't step up and become active in our own health and our own life if someone's constantly trying to take control for us and direct and order us in terms of what's the next step and why.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, something that feels quite natural in our role as health professionals, you're telling people what to do and what their next step should be, is in fact something that's causing them to perhaps feel like doing the exact opposite.
Then we've got roadblock number 2, which is warning and threatening. So we might sometimes believe that, if we scare them enough or we provide, compelling enough reasons to change, then they'll take action. So, and we might think, gosh, don't they realize that this is really bad for their health? Or don't they realize what they're doing is going to cause an outcome that is really not, is dire or not desirable? It's not where they want to go. So, we start saying things like, oh, look, if you don't get this under control, then you could get this, or this could happen to you, or the consequences are. And you see these sort of fear campaigns, you see them in public health as well, don't we? With these big warning, threatening fear campaigns. And they can sort of initially create a little bit of awareness or shock factor. But when we feel bad and we feel frightened, a lot of people just want to stick their head in the sand, right?
Absolutely. So, when we use these kind of warning techniques, and sometimes we use them in love, we're not always aggressive with them. Sometimes we can be really kind in the way that they're delivered, but we just help the opposite of what we're aiming for, which is people get defensive. They want to do, like you said, they want to hide. And I think one of the biggest things with warning and threatening is that people go into shutdown. So we know that when we are in a fear state, we're not thinking rationally, we're not thinking creatively about solutions. And so when we start sort of warning people about the end game of the consequences of not taking action or not changing their behavior, quite often we get them to get even more stuck in the behavior.
That's right. Because, if we think about ourselves from a long-term perspective, we want to feel good and positive about what we're doing and where we're heading towards. And when we start to feel negative or scared, it can, as we said before, like create maybe some short-term awareness or short-term change, but no one wants to stay in that state of feeling scared or negative. So it's not a fantastic solution for someone being really motivated from a long-term perspective to create sustainable change.
Yeah.
Then we have Roadblock 3, which is advice giving, providing solutions and suggestions. And this comes from a place where we sort of feel that people will, if we provide them with some really helpful strategies or solutions, then that's the gap. That's kind of what's missing in terms of someone being motivated to change or create change. And often we kind of think, well, this has worked for me, or it's worked for other people. And I can really be really effective in my time here by just providing this advice or this short-term solution. And that can really help someone to move forward in a quicker way.
I think what's really interesting about advice giving and providing solutions is it's really natural. It's really natural in our conversations with our friends. Someone will talk about a problem that they're having and we will jump in with, here's what you need to do. So it's quite interesting to realize that it's unhelpful. And when we start saying, just do it this way and try getting up earlier. And, the best way to do it is this, or, what I do. And we start to kind of come over the top of someone with everything, as you said, that's worked for us, or all of our ideas that are popping into our heads as they're talking. We're like, I know what they need to do. Maybe they should meditate. I think that would be the answer. And we're we've got all these great ideas and we want to share them. And often when we're experts in an area, that comes from a place of kind of knowing what the evidence says, or having lots and lots of different clients and we know what's worked for them. And so we get really excited and want to impart this information and these solutions onto our clients. And all it does is make them feel completely overwhelmed.
And I think that we can feel like it's our role as health professionals as well to do that, right? To provide those solutions and advice. But we know that there's a place for somebody. There's a place for that when somebody asks permission, or there's a gap, and we can collaboratively brainstorm. But we know that if they don't come up with their own strategies and solutions, then again they're always going to be reliant on us. They're not taking that active role. And we know that when you come up with your own strategy, you've got ownership over that. You believe in that, and you're way more likely to actually achieve it.
Yeah, I think the other thing with that roadblock of giving advice is that it doesn't recognize a person as being an expert in their own life. And if you think about what we have done in our lives with different behaviors, I know what I've tried when it comes to drinking water, or the different exercise I've tried and what's worked for me, and did mornings work and did afternoons. And so when someone just comes over the top of you and says, do it this way, it doesn't respect all of your experience. It doesn't respect all of the times that you've tried and succeeded, or tried and it hasn't worked out. And that's really what we need to harness. We need to stop telling people what's worked for us, and we need to start asking them, what they've tried before.
Absolutely. Then we have Roadblock 4, which is judging, blaming, disagreeing. And we could feel quite frustrated here, where we're frustrated maybe by their behavior, how it might be impacting themselves, it might be impacting others. And we start to feel like, okay, this person needs to be told off. They need to be realizing that this behavior is harmful. So yeah, we can say things like, look, that wasn't a good idea, or what were you thinking, or that's bad for you. Why did you do that? But it's coming from this place where we probably want to protect them, situation, maybe others. it's really not helpful, right, Sharon?
Not helpful. And another example of this that I think was definitely guilty of in the past was telling someone that what they're thinking is wrong. So really disagreeing. So someone wanted to try, a paleo diet or a diet I didn't agree with. And I would say, well, like the raw food diet. And I'd say, there's no evidence for that. So, just cut them straight off with my expertise, disagreeing with well, that's not a good idea. The raw food diet isn't a good idea. And all it did, rather than support them and help them to see that maybe it wasn't a great choice, all it did was make them feel unheard.
And feel like disrespected as well, and feel like, okay, well, again, it's putting you on that superior level to them, as opposed to that collaborative approach. And so that's really interesting. Where did you get those ideas from? What would you like to achieve with that? And having that real collaborative discussion where we're supporting someone to come to a safe and effective option, but without just saying, no, that's wrong, you should do this.
So roadblock number 5 is a little bit similar to one of our earlier roadblocks with giving advice. And it's when we start lecturing to people, we start instructing, we start arguing. So it's kind of a little bit like the one just before. And we say, oh, do you realize that the raw food diet actually doesn't have any evidence to support it? You need to do this, because that's what the evidence says. You need to exercise for 30 minutes every day. You need to be eating 5 serves of vegetables. Or when someone, proposes something to us, we say, well, the research tells us that you need such and such. And we really kind of use this, it's almost like a superiority, and we talk down to them and tell them that, we know better.
The dismissing, of that idea based on the fact that we are more educated or we are more experienced. And I think this comes from us thinking, well, this person really needs strong guidance from me. They've come to me as the expert. So clearly I need to provide the expert instruction, the expert, what to do. And then giving them that expertise will be the way to steer them in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're very evidence-based as health practitioners. And so when someone's not following what we believe to be evidence-based, we feel like our role is to correct them.
But yeah, it ends up, again, we want to be collaborative. We want to be respectful, instead of us taking this superior role where, again, they are passive, they might get defensive, they, again, feel disrespected about things that they actually know or understand already. Again, it's just that, it's that unequal relationship, isn't it? where when we're lecturing and instructing, as opposed to sort of saying, what would you like to know? Or what's some information that is maybe holding you back at the moment? Or just kind of really collaboratively working out where the gaps are. And maybe they do need some expertise and they need some evidence-based information, but delivered in a really collaborative way, and where it's filling the gaps, not just assuming that they don't know anything or knowledge.
And I think, when I think of these, like the last couple of examples, I really think of that kind of parent-child relationship where someone comes over the top of you and starts telling you how to live your life. And then even as adults, we can be a little bit, rebellious teenager in our approach and sort of dig our heels in and go, nah, I don't care what the evidence says, I'm going to do the opposite, just as a way of restoring our autonomy.
Then we have roadblock 6, the reassuring, sympathising, consoling. And I think, we say things like, yeah, me too. And we feel like this we want to help and we want to make things better. We might feel a little bit uncomfortable ourselves in the situation, so we might try to brush over or quickly move someone along. But these are sort of things that maybe we've been saying for a long period of time. We've heard people, maybe our family has said it to us, friends have said it to us. And also it sometimes becomes a little bit push and play, doesn't it, Sharon? You know, situations where you'll be like, oh, you know, at least you've got your health, or, oh, you poor thing, well, don't worry, tomorrow's another day.
Yeah. And I think we use it as a way of relating. So when we hear someone's been through something, we want to sympathize with them. And we sort of like, oh, me too. I know it's hard. Like, I'm a mum as well. And I know how busy it gets and how tired. And we feel like it's a way of relating by kind of sympathizing. Or, you know, or consoling, you know, that sounds terrible. Oh, you poor thing. And then going on to the reassuring, oh, but tomorrow will be better, or it'll get better, or you'll get through this. And, you know, those statements just become big, gigantic roadblocks between us and the person that is telling us something that has upset them or has been big for them. And all we do is use this kind of communication roadblock to push aside everything because we're feeling uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's sort of, they want to have the space to move through their emotions and be able to process them. And instead we are like grabbing that talking stick and we are turning it onto ourselves, even though, as you said before, you know, we want to relate to someone and say, oh yeah, me too, it's happened to me, and make someone feel better by thinking, you know, it's not just you, it's me as well. But then suddenly that person's dealing with their own situation and they're trying to deal with what happened to you as well, which really isn't that fair. It's really our role to just, like, no matter what's happened to us and how similar it might sound, is to just hold the space and just say, you know, like, that sounds really tough, or, you know, tell me more, or what is going on there, and allow someone to just be heard. And then in their own time, we can support them to move forward, as opposed to quickly pushing them because we feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to feel what they need to feel, and we need to give them the space to do that. And when we don't, and when we try to push it aside or tell them that everything's going to be okay, one, we can't promise that everything is going to be okay. We can't promise that tomorrow will be better. We can't promise there are more fish in the sea. But we can allow our clients to feel heard. And that's what we don't do when we, you know, try and railroad over the top of their feelings.
This is an interesting one, isn't it? You know, talking about children, the distract, divert.
Yeah.
We kind of think if we can distract a person, we can make them forget about what's going on for them, the hard situation, or, you know, what they're getting upset about. And we kind of think that that's almost like saving them. Like, oh, okay, like, hang on, if we divert or distract right now, they don't have to feel these negative emotions and they can just forget them. But the reality is, if we're not allowing someone to process their emotions, feel heard, and work through this, a distraction's only a short-term solution. I mean, it's all relative with the kids sometimes, but generally a distraction can be a short-term solution, as opposed to, you know, letting someone, as we say, hold that space, go, okay, you know what? I'm ready right now. I feel like I've been heard. I actually feel better, and I feel like I can take the next steps forward.
Yeah, I think often when people are starting to talk about why they can't make changes, like why they can't change their behavior, and they might be telling us how busy they are at work, or, you know, how their family is really demanding. And we can tune out a little bit because we think, oh, come on, you know, get over your excuses. And so then we'll just try to divert them back to talking about what we want to talk about, which is the strategies and the solutions and how they can change. And all we do is, our client just feels shut down. Like, I'm not listening. I'm not interested in your story. Bang, cut them off at the knees.
Yeah, absolutely. So roadblock 8, praising, approving, agreeing. So this is an interesting one because we want to make someone feel better, and we want to, compliment them because we want to create some more positivity. Like, you're so clever, you've done the right thing, great choice, amazing idea. But the thing is, when we are praising someone, when we are sort of saying things like, oh, yeah, I think you've done the right thing, or what it's doing is, it puts us in that superior position where, and it puts someone in a passive position where they're looking to us for praise or approval. And it indicates that our opinion is more important than theirs as well. So it can be like, setting up this sort of relationship where people look to us for praise and for our approval, as opposed to looking within themselves for what they can think about in terms of what they're doing right or what strengths they have. It can also feel insincere as well. Like, again, if we're really uncomfortable and we're just quickly trying to praise someone to change the energy of the situation or move it forward. And it can, result in someone also sort of arguing back because it does feel insincere and it isn't what they need right now.
Yeah. And particularly if you think of, I often think of that sort of situation where you've got a child who's not doing anything particularly wonderful and the parents, they're going, great swinging. And I always think, why are you praising your child for swinging on the swing? And although that's sort of a bit of a random comparison, sometimes I think we do this with our clients. We're like, great job, great, well done. And, you can even hear the pitch of your voice go up, like, amazing. I mean, and they might have just said, yeah, like I got here on time. Amazing. Like there's an inconsistency between how amazing we're saying it is and the action that they actually took.
And when you on the receiving end of that, and sometimes, I guess now in my older years and health coach years, I have come back and said, well, it's not really that amazing, is it? Like, it's not that hard. Because I felt it was insincere, and I felt like, why are you praising me for something so simple like that? So it's everyone feels it. So unless we're just legitimately, asking someone how they feel about the situation first. How do you feel about the fact you can swing without a push? Or using another strategy where we're getting someone to reflect on their own strengths and how they and their own resources and how they feel about a situation, then this technique can definitely just do the absolute opposite of what we're intending. Instead of someone feeling good, just feeling like, you know what, no, I don't feel respected here, or it's
the opposite.
Yeah.
That whole kind of, we want people to be looking to themselves for approval. We don't want them relying on us to be looking to us for approval. Did I do a good job? Was that amazing? We want them to be assured in themselves that they're doing a good job and that what they're doing is amazing for them. So how do we avoid those roadblocks, Siobhan?
Yeah, so the simple things is take off that expert hat. The reality is there are two experts in the room, but it's your client or patient and you, or that person in front of you. It's meeting someone collaboratively, hand in hand, on the same level. And it's just getting really curious instead of assuming. I think a lot of these roadblocks come in because we are assuming straight away, as opposed to just asking someone questions around, how are you feeling? Or how has, when you felt like that in the past, what resources have you used? Or just reflecting, where they're at the moment, and being really open in terms of us really listening to someone and being really present with them and comfortable in ourselves to just sit with that situation and hear people. And then when they feel heard, be able to help them find their own motivation and solutions, and affirm, as opposed to the praise or approval. So Sharon, do you want to talk more to that?
I think, these, although we're talking about, these skills in terms of a health professional context, I think we use a lot of these roadblocks personally in all of our relationships. If we think about the way we talk to our friends, of the way we talk to our parents or our siblings, even some colleagues that we work with. And so these solutions are not just if you've got a client in front of you, but if you've got anyone in front of you and you're having a conversation and they're talking about an area that they're struggling with or something that they're thinking of doing, we feel like we're there to impart information and to tell them what to do and to warn them against dangers. But actually, often people have the solutions inside of them. And so whether it's a client or whether it's someone that you're not in a client relationship with, these are the same skills that you use to help someone be empowered to find out a way forward that actually suits them and is going to work based on all of their experience and based on their preferences. So we hope going forward, you can consider your own communication roadblocks and that you can reflect on the energy of the person that you're talking to when you actually use some of those roadblocks. Because don't you think, Siobhan, that's when you notice what's not working with that, the disengagement or the energy that you get back from the person you're talking to?
Oh, it's the biggest guide, I think, and someone will shut down or they start talking maybe just in one or two words. Body language might shut down. There's definitely, I think, that energy and that's fine. If that's happened, you notice it and then you correct it and you can apologize too. Sorry, actually, could I reword that? Or actually, I'm just really curious, what is going on for you right now?
Yeah. And, curiosity and that open, flexible approach will always win.
So feel free to connect with us. There's our email address and our website and social handles as well. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, we have plenty of courses online, both self-paced and blended, and mentoring groups. So we hope you've enjoyed today's session on communication roadblocks, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
So our website's accreditedhealthcoaching.com.au, and you'll find a whole lot of resources, some more free webinars like this, as well as all of the information about the courses that we offer.